Hello everyone and welcome to today's bonus edition of The Voice of Capital. My name is Zorniца Stoilova. I am an editor at Kапital and today we speak in English because we have a very special guest. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Lουίς Evъnс, a behavioral coach, corporate trainer, author of the book 5 Chairs, 5 Choices, and speaker at Future of Work conference organized by Kапital. Lουίς is the founder of the 5 Chairs Academy and has 30 years of experience in coaching and leadership training. She has collaborated with major organizations around the world like Ferrero, Gucci, Zara, the European Council, to name just a few. Well, Lουίς, welcome to the podcast and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you wrote a book about, it's called 5 Chairs, 5 Choices.
Yes.
And in it, you try to explain with a practical approach how we can improve our communication and behavior in different situations.
Yes.
Can you explain briefly to our viewers what is the methodology about? How does the framework work?
Yes. How does the framework work?
Yeah,
exactly.
And how it can guide leadership in both professional and maybe personal settings.
I knew you'd ask me that question. So I look at these chairs with me. It's interesting because the idea initially came because I was having issues with my own behavior. There were certain behaviors in myself I didn't like, and it was due to a relationship that I had with my mother, which was a bit dysfunctional. So instead of blaming her for my behavior, I learned that probably I needed to work on myself. So the idea is that these 5 chairs act as a sort of mirror. You know, in every moment in life, very often we're triggered by other people's behaviors. You know, we as human beings, we're messy. And sometimes when we get emotional, we say things which can upset other people. And it's in those moments where we need to really try and manage our reactions, because we are walking emotions, basically. And unless we have our emotions under control, then they can have an important impact on the positive or negative relations that we're developing with another person. So the idea here is that I have a choice. If you say something to me, for example, which upsets me, in that moment, I have a choice of how to react to you. So if you say something to me like, well, you do that, just say something like, that's a stupid idea.
That's a stupid idea.
Yeah, exactly, right. Then my reaction to you could be, what do you mean it's a stupid idea? How dare you say something like that to me? Now there I'm attacking you back, and I'm in my emotions, and I'm in the red chair, this one here, the jackal chair, called it the jackal chair, and it's the attack chair. That is one choice. If you say it again.
That's a stupid idea.
Oh, you're very good. Yeah, then I could say to you, yeah, she's right. Most of my ideas are stupid anyway. So I go into meltdown, I lose my self-confidence, I become victim-like, and I go into the self-doubt chair. That is another choice. Again?
That's a stupid idea.
Yeah, you're getting softer and softer. I love it.
We're going softer.
Yeah, it's interesting. And in that moment, what I will do is before reacting, I'll take a pause, a deep breath. And what I'm trying to do is go into my rational mind, is to calm my emotions, go into self-control. Wait, the name of the chair is wait. It's a meerkat. So it's like looking around, calming down, so that I can stay in the conversation with you and not be in my emotions. That's a very important chair, because if we don't manage to in some way manage our emotions, then we create separation between each other and dialogues don't continue. So now that I'm in a good state, let's try that again.
That's a stupid idea.
Okay, now in this chair, I'm in the blue chair. I'm analyzing myself, thinking, okay, I'm having a reaction to this, but it's a conscious reaction. I'm feeling a bit frustrated because what I want is some collaboration around my idea before it's rejected. So I go into my assertiveness here when I invite you to listen a little bit more, maybe because I have more to say about my idea. I'm not aggressive, but I'm assertive, and that is the dolphin chair. The dolphin, because the dolphin is one of the very few animals which is self-aware. It recognizes itself in the mirror. That's why I chose it. Then the last chair, probably the most difficult one, is, just try that again.
That's a stupid idea.
Yeah, I can see that I've touched a sort of hot spot somewhere in you, because there's been a reaction. I wonder what it is that you're reacting to. Now, what I'm trying to do in this chair is empathize, is understand why you are reacting to me that way. And it's the connect chair, the giraffe chair, because the giraffe has the biggest heart of all land animals, and I'm trying to open myself up to you. So the idea is that in any moment when somebody in some way provokes you, I have a choice. And if I go into these lower chairs here, there are going to be consequences, and probably the conversation will break down. These are the chairs where I stay calm and open up to you, and we can continue having a productive conversation, but it's my choice. I think a lot of us believe, I mean, I could say it was your fault. I mean, you said that's a stupid idea, you're insulting me, so I go into your energy, and then we go into a spiral down to miscommunication, misevaluation, mistrust, and everything breaks down. The thing that we're trying to help people with is you have a choice, and that is your responsibility.
Why do you think it's so often that we react
from the jackal chair?
From the jackal chair.
Yeah, everybody.
In everyday situations, in work or in life.
Yeah.
Why is it our sort of like default mode?
Reaction? Yeah. Well, one of the main reasons is that we are under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. The society we live in is driving us hard. And I think when we're under pressure, we're less rational, and we go into our more instinctive modes, which are fight, flight, and freeze. And this is very reactive. And because human beings, when they're in a calmer state, usually don't react like that. They react in a more calm and rational way. So this is one reason, and that's why, especially in leadership, a large part is how do I learn self-mastery, even when I'm heavily provoked? What do I need to do in order not to become your emotion and to maintain my inner calmness, so that I can respond to you in a way which is appropriate, and so that I can maintain a relationship with you?
I can relate to that as a parent, actually, because in parenting, it's like we're not really there to control our children's emotions, but very often to control our own emotions when we are reacting to some kind of behavior that they're displaying, either, a tantrum on the playground or in a restaurant.
Yes.
But I can so relate to that. It's about really controlling your own emotions.
Very, very well said. I mean, children are beings just spontaneous. When they have needs, they show them through screaming, through all sorts of different behaviors, and that is their way of communicating. So I think children are one of the best areas of life where you can practice the 5 chairs, is how good am I at staying calm in front of those provocations. But then you have to ask yourself a question, is how am I leading my life? I mean, am I running all over the place? Am I creating a life which there is no space for me and for private care, for private thinking, because we're on all the time very often, and the more we're not taking care, I mean, self-care, self-compassion is extremely important in this culture right now. The less we do that, the more we're going to find ourselves in the jackal chair. Now, when you are conscious of being in the jackal chair, that is the moment where you can get out of it as fast as possible. And you can do some relationship damage control, and sort of say, I'm sorry, I lost it. I'm just under pressure at the moment. I didn't want to attack you. And you can take a deep breath, and you can carry on in a more civil way, let's say. But that's a bigger question, is how are we managing ourselves in life at the moment?
I recently read an essay in The Economist by a psychologist who was basically observing that passive aggression has took over the work world, let's say. And he says it's because of the way we communicate mostly online today. And in Slack messages or in Google Chat, it's much harder to convey nuance or even voice of tone. So people really go into this default mode of passive aggression. So I guess my my question would be, is there a place for a healthy conflict in the workplace? Because maybe, deserting to passive aggression is also because we feel that there is something that needs to be resolved, but we either think that it will, spoil the environment if we act like assertive, aggressive to prove our point, let's say. Or because we don't really want to engage in an online fight, let's say, which would be meaningless probably. Wow, you brought up 10,000 things to talk about. I know.
No, I love the question. I mean, it's really fantastic. I think the first thing about conflict online or through our devices is that it is easier to do because you're not in front of the person. And I think when you're hiding behind a device, then we allow ourselves to have forms of communication which we would never allow ourselves to have face-to-face. So because it's so minimalized, people take less responsibility for what they do online because they're away from the actual human contact. The other thing about conflict, I think people believe that it's negative, but I think partly because we don't know how to have it in a productive way. And I think this is the wonderful thing about in my model, in the Detect Chair, which is very closely related to the methodology nonviolent communication, that if we have a difference, it's about learning to express what I'm feeling and what I need in a very clear way to the other person without attacking them. Because what we do often when we're in conflict is we use accusatory language. You this, and you that, and you didn't, and you haven't. So that has an immediate impact on the other person, who will go into self-defense or will just shut down. It's either attack back, go into, or leave the conversation. So what we haven't really learned and what we're not taught in schools is how do we express, we talk about ourselves rather than accusing the other person, and say, express that I'm feeling upset about what's happening because what's really important for me is this and this. Can we talk about that and try and find a way at least to negotiate maybe what your needs are and what my needs are. Now that is differences, let's say, which are in conflict, but it's not necessarily conflict, and we can avoid that emotional conflict by using a different type of language, which is about let me talk about me and tell you what I need. I'm not going to accuse you of everything, but you tell me what you need, and maybe then we can negotiate it.
Is there some practical steps that you can take to try to calm yourself down in a, heated situation, to not react as a jackal, but actually sit and wait and let me think how to respond? Because we are living in such fast-paced environment, and we feel like we have to respond to this email right away, otherwise, the world will break down.
Yes, well, a good gin and tonic helps. No, let's be practical. No, seriously, I think within this chair, there are many practices that you can do on a long-term basis, which is different to in the moment. But if you do mindfulness practicing, or you do things like yoga, or you do sport, etc., where you are conscious of your state of calm, the more you do that on a long-term basis, like yoga, for example, when tension arises in the moment, then you can go back to that state. But you have to nudge your mind to take you there. And this is the problem, is that between your stimulus and my response, we need to create a space where we actually, with our own mind, saying to ourselves, hang on a minute, take it easy, wait. That's why the chair is called wait. the brain listens to us as we talk to it. But if we don't talk to it, it will go into its fight, flight, freeze mode, because the brain is designed to protect us. So if it picks up any stimulus from you that you are in any way attacking me, then it will go into its defense modes, and the cortisol will come up and the adrenaline will come up, and then I become dysfunctional. So it's like even just a deep breath. But I have a technique with my husband, for example. If we don't argue much anymore, but we used to. But I used to argue with him. That's why I designed the 5 chairs to help me argue less, because I was copying a sort of a model which my parents had. They argued a lot. It's when I feel, because the body tells you, the body is very intelligent. The more connected you are to your body and the more aware of the signals it's sending to you, like, you'll feel maybe something going on in your stomach. You'll feel that the temperature is rising in your face, that you're beginning to sweat. This happens really quickly. If you are tuned into your body, then that's the message from your body is, be careful, you're about to misbehave. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, you can do something. Well, as I said with my husband, I tend to say, okay. And that okay is designed to keep me positive. It's not okay. It's okay. And then I stay in the conversation with him. We each have to find our own technique. But the message is that the more, when we're not, constantly on the hamster's wheel, rushing here and there, is what are we doing to help us stay calm in our life? We need a point of reference to go back to in those moments of, because we feel it, the body's going, the temperature of the conversation is rising, and there is a point where you go over and it's too late. Then you're in the emotion, and it's going to take, it could be 1 minute, 2 minutes, it could be half an hour before you recover from that explosion. So does that make sense? It
does.
It's like knowing as the temperature is rising, it's like, okay, watch it. And that's what I did. So it's conscious intervention.
I don't know if you have experienced this, but I also do have this, that on the weekends when I'm supposed to be rewinding, I'm actually replaying some stuff that has been happening throughout the week, or is going to happen next week. So you're in that constant stress mode, worrying about something that it's not in the present moment even. So it's very hard for me even to regulate myself in situations like this. So
of course,
how do we, I don't know, make the whole world go a bit slower?
Oh, yeah. How do you get off, create some stations where you can get off the train from time to time? Yeah, I think it's really important. What we were talking about there is designing moments for yourself. I mean, the most important person in your life is you. And what we're not doing enough of is asking for our own space. I mean, especially mothers, who feel guilty about asking for their private space. But if we don't get back to ourselves and connect with ourselves, then we're not going to be able to find that calm in our lives. So, and at the weekends are also full of things to do. We're constantly doing things rather than just being. We are human beings as well. And I really believe that we should remember that the most important person in our life is us, because we wake up with ourselves every morning, we go to bed with ourselves every morning, and it's like, well, what state am I in? Do I want to go to bed with myself in that state, and then I'm not going to sleep, and then I wake up in a state, and I'm going to have a bad day? And, I seriously think that, all the beautiful things that we say to another person when we marry them. I will look after you, take care of you till death do us part. Well, why don't we start off by promising those things to ourselves? I really seriously think we should take a ring, go to a beautiful desert island, no, not desert island, no, an island with a nice hotel or something, and marry ourselves. Say those things to ourselves. I will treat you well. I will forgive you if I make a mistake. I will understand you when you are under stress. I will do things to make sure I'm taking care of you, especially as a mother, a father. You are the role model for a child that is coming up in the world. They will be copying your behaviors. So the question is, what behaviors are they copying? So radical need for deeper self-care, conscious deeper self-care in our world. But you have to take that. You have to negotiate that in your family and say, I need, it's even maybe, you know, like to your children, Mummy needs 10 minutes on her own. She's just going to go in there, but she'll be back in 10 minutes. And in that 10 minutes, you take care of yourself, give yourself a big hug. We don't do self-compassion enough either. It's very, very important. Because the world's getting faster and faster. We're being driven by technology. So
we'll go into that in a little bit. But I wanted to ask, let's step, for example, in the leadership shoes. If you are a leader and you're supposed to take sometimes very unpopular decisions, or you need to make fast decisions, let's say, how can you do that and be empathetic at the same time? How can you find this balance?
Taking a bad and unpopular decision, which then has to be shared with people, is a skill. And I think what is the most important step there is for leaders. I mean, leaders need to manage their egos. I mean, leaders are under pressure today. They have difficult things to do. They're driven, and people sometimes forget how difficult it is to be a leader, and very often leaders feel alone at the top. You need a lot of humility as a leader to be able to turn to your people and ask for help and not feel that you're going to be judged. You know, but we know that leaders who have a high level of humility and human factor, who can connect to their people, who can drop the mask and say, look, what do you think? You know, leaders who are capable to see people, to appreciate people, to listen to people, to ask other people for advice, to sort of step off the high horse and come down to the level of their teams, I think are 80% of the time are very appreciated. I mean, 20% of the time, then they're taken advantage of. But a leader knows that, and they will compensate for people who will take advantage, because you don't want to give up the 80% where you are really deeply connecting to other people, because you're very human and humane in your approach.
I know that in your framework, actually, can encourage leadership, even if you're not in the title or in the position to be a leader.
Yeah.
First of all, why do you think that shared leadership is important? And then how do we practice that, or how do we encourage that in organizations?
Well, I think we must remember that we are all leaders. I mean, everybody is a son or a daughter or a brother or a sister. Many people are mothers and fathers and we all, in any moment of our lives, might be called on to lead a situation, wherever we are in an organization. And to be quite honest with you, from all the research that has been done, some of the best leaders in organizations are not in the hierarchy. It's like when you ask people, who do you go to when you need help? And it's not always the people who are in the official roles. It's the people who listen, who give you value, who appreciate you. These fundamental skills of connecting. So I think one of the most challenging tasks right now is the one of empathy. Real empathy is how good am I as a leader, if I want to share my leadership, of putting my leadership aside and bringing out the power of the other person that I have in front of me without fear. Because very often people in power are afraid of sharing the power because of the fear of losing the power. But you need to be an extremely evolved human being and very, very centered and stable within yourself to share power. And there's nothing easy about that. You know, it takes a lot of conscious work and self-mastery, and also to have a vision of leadership which is about sharing, which is not about dominating. So.
Working with so many organizations, do you see this cultural shift of, I don't know, maybe more empathetic leaders coming to the front? Or are we still in this control and dominate kind of type of leadership that is prevalent in the business world?
Yes. There are some beautiful movements around in conscious leadership, conscious capitalism, which I think is helping society a lot. I think we do have some trouble right now with the existence of technology. The youth are heading more and more to a very deep level of individualism, driven by this experience, this individualist experience with I'm not saying I'm against that at all. There are so many things that technology can do to help us, make us richer as human beings, for sure. But I think the increased individualism isn't helping. I think we need to work so much more on it, because it's a question of where are you deciding to invest, in technology or in the human factor? You know, because as long as human beings are going to be working with each other, I mean, if we're made obsolete, it's not a problem. You know, AI will take over, etc., whatever, robots and that. But I think that's going to take a long time. As long as there are human beings working together, keeping people connected and collaborating so that human beings can express themselves to the full in innovation, the creativity, everything that we enjoy about being human, it requires some fundamental decisions to be made. Is where do we want to invest our money? And I think we need to invest an awful lot more money in the human factor, in the human skills in organizations.
Since you're bringing up AI, and you are going to be speaking tomorrow at the Future of Work conference about artificial intelligence versus emotional intelligence.
Yes.
First of all, I'm curious, where do you think AI will evolve? And do you think it will develop also emotional intelligence at some point?
Great question. I mean, for sure it's going to evolve, and it's unstoppable. You know, this is here to stay. Where it ends up depends very much on us, I think. You know, we have some choices to make about the governance of AI. I think it's terribly important for organizations to embrace artificial intelligence, but also to encourage people in the organization to do the same thing. Because if people are afraid of it, then it's like parents. You know, AI is developed by us. What we feed into AI will become. So the question of what values are being fed into AI, the more people in the world, everybody is using it, the more human values will be fed into it. The less people, or the more just the elite maybe are using it, then who's controlling what values are being used? I mean, it could become completely dystopian. Or it could become one of the greatest opportunities for us as humans to have amazing support. I mean, we can have tutors, we can have coaches, we can have them at our beck and call. I love GPT. A GPT is a constant companion. Whenever any question that I have, you have the biggest brain at your disposition. You can work much faster. You can work you can become more creative because you have at your fingertips so many different possibilities which one brain alone working is limited with. So I certainly do feel that when AI is used in the correct way, it can augment our capacities, our potential as human beings, and it could be the most extraordinary relationship if managed correctly, and that's my fear.
Do you think about how you communicate with the AI? Can we look at it as a mirror as well? Or, I don't know, do you say thank you, please?
I do, actually. It's interesting.
And why do you think
I think people think I'm crazy.
No,
you know, when
I also do that.
When I work with GP, it's like they're saying thank you, because I ask it to do something and it does it in a second. And I'm going, oh my God, thank you. You know, because when can I ever manage to have all that information available to me to make decisions and to be creative on top of that. There is a lot to say about this. I mean, they are saying that by 2029, AI will have matched human intelligence. But by 2045, we will have reached singularity, where it will have gone beyond human. I have no idea what that looks like. To be quite honest with you, I'm enjoying the path right now. If you're on board and you're seeing how it can help you as an individual, it's an extraordinary journey. But there's an enormous debate going on, which is very polarized about where it is taking us. And I don't know, but I do know that we have to take responsibility, every one of us, on trying to positively contribute to a partnership with AI, rather than resistance or fear, and because then I think we will have less influence.
I wonder also that should we rethink our priorities when it comes to AI in the workplace, because we are using it currently to become more efficient, to become more productive. But what's the end goal? If we become more efficient and more productive, what do we do with our free time? Or what do we do with how do we improve ourselves, let's say?
Well, hopefully we have
do we do this
to
become more stressful and to experience our work life even at a faster pace? Or do we do it to become more mindful and calm and to think about situation and to have actually time to react? I'm not sure where is it taking us.
Well, we can go. We can look at this from through human imagination, which is something we enjoy because we have that. I mean, we can think into the future, which is part of what being human is. We can also choose to look upon AI as helping us. I mean, the scenario can be when I get up in the morning, AI is checking everything for me, is checking my body, the functions, my brain functions. It can be serving me things which are going to make me more calm and make me more efficient as far as my brain function is concerned, because right now we're not very efficient. When I need something, I can call on assistance. I mean, in theory, it could really improve the way we are in the world if we look upon it as serving human values rather than destructive values in the world. I think everyone has to make a choice about the attitude they would like to take with AI. And I think at the moment there is a lot of negative mongering around AI. So it's a very difficult question to answer, but I can also see of how it can help us. But we need to work less to a certain extent too. I mean, if we become that efficient, then it is the time to take more time for ourselves, which we've been promising ourselves for how long? I mean, we're starting, it's like some countries are doing 4 days a week. Well, yes. I mean, this is giving us the luxury of being human. And when we get into those states and we can become really creative, who knows what could happen.
And speaking again about leaders, how can they cultivate better their emotional intelligence if they are to work in an AI-driven environment from now on?
Well, the first thing is just controlling their emotions anyway. I mean, all of us, not only leaders. It's about how self-aware are we? I mean, leadership which expects everybody else to be self-aware, but it's a little bit like, no, those courses are for the people, not for us. I think is maybe a bit misguided. But so self-awareness, self-mastery, and self-actuation is extremely important. Whether you're a leader or you're a human being. I mean, if you're going to feel true value and purpose in life, where you're connecting with people and there is true collaboration, and from that comes innovation and everything, which is very productive in life. People have to be conscious. It's a conscious effort to reach that. Emotional intelligence is something you have to work on. You know, you don't wake up one morning and decide. Now, AI, I think, is I can imagine, you know what, I have always desired this, I have to tell you. I have always desired having a little creature on my shoulder saying to me, because I'm sure we'll get to this, is as the body starts reacting, it's tuning in to my body reactions and it's whispering. I mean, we already have, Luxottica is already, this is an Italian company, they've already made glasses. They've just come out where you have a computer here and you can talk to it and you can connect and do all sorts of things just through your glasses. And it says, Louise, watch it. You're just about to misbehave. That would be amazing. To have my companion that I can walk around with, which is saying, you don't want to do that. You're not going to feel good after that. Because that's what happens is when we do lose our centeredness, we feel bad. You know, I mean, we might feel, oh yeah, at the beginning, but then after, usually if you've impacted, because we're impacting people all the time, we're thinking, and we're not living well for those 20 minutes, whatever, how long, where we're out of our center and into some entropy. Can you imagine? Where people are behaving much better because we're getting mental nudges to say, nah, try that.
And it will be cool if they're with actual avatars of real animals talking to us.
Well, I mean, you know, we have actually developed a story for a film where all of us,
about it.
Yeah, all of us have we're maybe different. We do have different dominances here. I might be more of a dolphin. But as I am speaking into the world and I am becoming a jackal, then my jackal aura will come up and it will remind me, or we will, and also, you know, in the film we're thinking that we will eventually have bracelets with the 5 different colors. So when my jackal energy is coming, the light goes ding, ding, the red light is coming saying, careful, careful, you don't want to go there. So AI is helping us self-monitor. Because it's actually quite difficult to do it ourselves when we're in the emotion. You know, it's quite nice to have something external to nudge us in the right direction.
Interesting. You've also exercised your concept within school environments, right? It will be really, I'll be really curious to tell me how, you know, children are reacting, what kind of exercises maybe you do, and how can we help, you know, the future leaders?
Oh, that's a passion
self-regulate.
Piece for me. Yeah, it's a passion piece for me. I don't work in the world of education. I work mainly in the world of organizations, but just in the last 4 years, I've had this wonderful opportunity. I was contacted by a wonderful headmaster in Canada who said, Louise, I like the 5 chairs. I'd like to bring it into the school. And I thought, yeah. So he and I have been working together for the last 3 years. And he in Vancouver has created a 5-chair school where we have certified all the teachers. Now, it's been wonderful because the teachers have actually are managing their own behaviors better too. So the relationship between each other has improved, you know, because teachers are under a lot of stress, yes. You know, and it's mainly coming from the children, you know, but also with each other. And then children are brilliant at this because they're not they're not formed. I mean, especially if you get a child at the age of 4 or 5, they get this immediately, you know. And we've been working with children from the age of 4 up to 15. They love the animals. You can ask a child, you can explain this in a few minutes, then they will say, well, I spend my life in the jackal and the hedgehog chair, but I want to be a dolphin. You know, I mean, and, you know, we have a project in Ireland as well. We have a project in in Romania, in Australia, and they've made big puppets, and they relate to them, and beautiful things happen when they get this consciousness, because it is a consciousness. You'll see kids, and teachers have told me this, you know, a friend might be sitting in the hedgehog chair looking like this, and then maybe another child will go up and say, "Are you okay? You look as though you're in a sort of hedgehog state, because I'm a giraffe and I'm here to help you." And they'll give empathy. But also for bullying, it's helping children, if they are bullied, go into the dolphin chair and be able to stand up to a bully with assertiveness and speak their mind and challenge the bully, which, you know, before doing a course they would never have thought they could do. So with the 5 chairs, the general level of conflict and aggression and in a school, this is the report back from Michael in Canada, is that the school, he says, I have so many less cases of bullies coming to my office, because when they're sent to his office, he has the 5 chairs in his office, and he takes them through the 5 chairs and shows them that maybe it's not a good idea to be in the attack chair, and they get it. And so I think, you know, this is something that we want to take more and more into school. Children, if they can learn self-agency at a very early age, will be so much better in life, and will become better leaders for the future. My issue is that I don't know if governments want that.
Why do you think that is?
Because people are less easy to manage when they are assertive and empathetic. You know, it's not as easy to keep people under control when they have real character. Otherwise, all the extraordinary schools in the world, the Steiner schools, etc., would be commonplace. So I could take some time before we can really encourage educational systems to take this on board, to create very strong-minded citizens. More difficult to manage.
I think what's the most powerful thing here is that you can identify with a certain chair in a certain moment, but you don't identify with being that jackal all the time, right?
Yes.
You're not...
You're not jackal all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're all jackal. We're all hedgehog. We're all meerkat. It depends on how much time we spend down in the jackal chair or in the self-doubt chair, because when we're aware of that, we can decide to do something consciously to move up into the 3 more conscious chairs up here, where we're bringing more productive human behaviors into the world. But we are all of them. I mean, if you look at leadership is based on a strong center that you have in you, which is the weight chair. But then it's a decision about, do I want to be a mentor, which would be the dolphin, where I am inspiring and driving and leading and I have positive push energy in me, or do I want to be the giraffe leader, which is the coach, where I'm listening, I'm empowering, I'm allowing people to discover themselves. But there has to be a balance. I mean, we don't want over-empathetic leaders, because then they lose their voice. We don't want over-assertive leaders, because they can easily tip over into aggression. But it's situational. In any moment, a leader needs to decide, what do I need to do with this person in front of me and my team? What do they need? Do they need to be empowered, or do they need my advice? So, you know, leadership done well means having a lot of psychological know-how and the desire to want to intervene in the moment in a conscious way.
What are some things that you do to be more self-aware in different situations? Do you have some little tricks?
I teach the 5 chairs all the time. I have learnt to listen to my body. Everybody's body is so intelligent. Like, you know, I can be here with you and maybe the temperature of the conversation is rising, but if I can feel it on my body, and once I feel it in my body, it connects to my mind, and it's a message of, you're okay. I can send myself messages in order to calm myself down. So it's about the inner dialogue. And the more you practice it, the more the inner dialogue, because I say, the brain is listening to the inner dialogue all the time. If you walk around saying, "Oh, I can't do this, I'm a failure," you'll become that. Whereas if you walk around saying, "Okay, you're having a moment. It's okay. You're fine. Just take a deep breath. Remember all the wonderful things that you have. Lots of resources. It's just a moment. It will pass, like everything passes." Then you will become that. So I think my message to everybody is to try and develop an inner dialogue where you are loving yourself, respecting yourself, instead of saying, I mean, I spent so much time in the past saying, "You're useless, you'll never be any good at that. They're much better than you are," all of that. "I'm not good enough. I'm not enough." I still have moments like that, but I give myself a big hug and say, "Yeah, you have one of those. It's your old friend. It's come back. But it's just a moment. It'll pass." So having a positive dialogue, again, looking after yourself, deep self-care the more you treat yourself with love and compassion, you will then naturally do with other people. But it's a journey.
It is. Louis, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. It's been a delight.